Hey everyone, ready to dive deep. Today we're going to turn things upside down, talking about thinking.
Thinking about thinking.
Exactly. We always hear the more thinking is better, right? But what if?
What if sometimes it's not?
Okay, I am so intrigued.
We're going to look at this paper from Princeton.
Find your step by step. Chain of thought can reduce performance on tasks where thinking makes humans worse.
Yeah, a bit of a mouthful, right? But it tells us exactly what we're going to talk about.
We are talking about AI
Powerful AI models like the ones you're hearing so much about these days.
and how they can be hurt by, wait for it,
Overthinking.
that's wild. So this paper looks at something called chain of thought prompting.
Koki for short.
CoQ.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into overthinking, tell us, what is CoQ prompting?
Imagine you're asking one of these fancy AI models a question, like, oh, I don't know. If John is taller than Mary and Mary is taller than Sue, who is the tallest?
A classic.
A classic. CoT prompting is how we guide the model to think through that step by step.
Like we'd say, okay, John's taller than Mary, and we know Mary's taller than Sue, so putting it all together.
Precisely. Building a mental scaffold.
Helping the AI organize its thoughts.
And it works really well a lot of the time.
So where does the overthinking part come in?
Well, the Princeton researchers found something really interesting.
Oh.
When us humans, when we do worse by thinking too much, CoT prompting can cause these models to make the same mistakes.
Ah.
Like we're passing our bad thinking habits onto the machines.
So if we trip ourselves up by overthinking, we might be teaching AI to do the same thing.
That's the idea.
That is kind of scary.
It is. And they looked at very specific types of tasks where this happened.
Okay, what kind of tasks? I gotta know.
One really cool example, it's called implicit statistical learning.
Okay, now that sounds complicated.
Not really. Think about how we learn grammar.
We don't just memorize a bunch of rules, right?
Right. We kind of absorb it by hearing and reading.
It's like, I know the cat sat on the mat. Sounds right. But Matt sat on the cat. Just sounds...
Exactly. But studies have shown that if you ask people to explain those grammar patterns, like consciously explain them, they actually get worse at recognizing correct grammar.
Wait, what? By thinking about it more, they mess it up.
They overthink it.
Wow.
And guess what? LLMs with cups, same thing.
No way.
Oh, yeah. So sometimes trying to explain something, it just messes us up.
This overthinking is a bad thing. I'm starting to get it.
It gets even crazier.
Oh, boy.
They tested this with all these different LLMs, like some really advanced ones. They found that OpenAI's O1 preview model, which already has a form of CoT built in.
So it's already kind of thinking step by step.
Right. It had a 36.3% drop in accuracy.
Whoa, hold on. 36.3%?
Compared to GPT-4 without CoT?
Just by encouraging the model to think step by step, it got way less accurate.
That's what they found.
That's huge.
Huge. And this wasn't just with O1 preview. They saw it with other models, too.
So these really smart AI, they can fall into the same traps as us.
It seems...
Okay, so overthinking, bad. Got it. What other examples are there where this CoT backfired?
Facial recognition. Ever try to describe someone's face? It's hard.
You just end up like, they had a face.
Right. There's a thing called verbal overshadowing.
Sounds fancy.
Basically, trying to describe a visual image can actually mess with our memory of it.
You're kidding.
And you know what? LLMs.
Don't tell me.
Same thing.
So if you ask an LLM to describe a face, step by step, it might be worse at recognizing that face later.
Exactly. They found that even really powerful models like GPT-4o, Gemini 1.5 Pro,
Top-of-line stuff.
they showed a noticeable drop in accuracy on face recognition when given CoT prompts.
It's like they get lost in the details and miss the big picture.
A great way to put it.
My brain hurts from thinking about all this thinking. What other mental pitfalls did this research find?
Let's talk about exceptions to the rule.
Oh, the worst. Like when you learn a grammar rule in school, and then there's that one irregular verb.
Exactly.
It just throws everything off.
It does. And humans and LLMs, they both have trouble when the simple explanation doesn't work.
So this CUT thing, it can make these AI take way longer to learn because they get stuck on the exceptions.
Exactly. It's not just about accuracy.
It's about how long it takes, too.
Totally. The study found that CUT could increase the time it took an LLM to learn new information by up to 331%.
331%. That's like studying 3 times as long for a test and still getting a worse grade.
You got it.
Okay, this is all blowing my mind, but I gotta ask, is there ever a time when CUT is actually a good thing?
That's a great question. And the answer is, it depends.
On what?
There are definitely tasks where it doesn't backfire,
Okay, like what?
like some really complex logical reasoning problems, because
Yeah.
LLMs don't always have the exact same limitations as us. Their ability to process tons of information, it can actually benefit from that step-by-step thinking.
So it's not just a simple code is good or code is bad.
It's way more nuanced than that. This research is making us rethink how we design and interact with AI.
It reminds us that we're still figuring out what these incredible tools can do.
And where their limits are.
Wow. So much to think about already, and we're just getting started with this research.
This is just the beginning.
Okay, I can't wait to see what's next.
Me too.
Should we take a break and come back for more?
Let's do it. So are we like creating these overthinking machines that just make all the same mistakes we do?
Yeah, like what does this all mean for AI in the future?
Well, I wouldn't say we're doomed or anything.
That's
It's
not-
more like a, a cautionary
A
tale.
warning.
Yeah, like, hey, be careful how you design and train these AI models. They're powerful.
So it's not just about giving them more data, more power.
Right, it's about using their strengths, but also really understanding their weaknesses.
And one of those weaknesses is,
Sometimes less is more.
whoa, back up. You're saying it's better for AI not to overthink things.
In certain situations, yes. Sometimes that intuition, that unconscious processing,
Going with your gut.
kind of, sometimes that's actually more effective than step-by-step reasoning.
That's so weird to think about. AI using the same kind of mental shortcuts that we do.
It's a fascinating parallel, isn't it? Makes you think about intelligence in a whole new way.
It really does. Like, how much of my own decision-making is actually logic?
And how much is just gut feeling?
Right.
That's a good question. We like to think we're super rational, but
But we're not.
our intuition, our unconscious biases, they play a much bigger role than we realize, I think.
So should we all just throw logic out the window and just go with our gut all the time?
No, not at all. Logic is still crucial.
Okay, good.
It's all about finding the right balance.
Balance. Okay, I like that.
Be aware of when overthinking can mess you up.
Yeah.
And be willing to trust your gut sometimes.
I mean, this whole conversation makes me want to unplug and just go live in the woods.
Well, that's always an option.
Tempting. But
Well-
for those of us who, still like wifey,
Right. Maybe we should all just be more selective.
about the information we take in.
Yeah. And remember, it's okay to not overanalyze everything.
Give our brains a break.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe that's something we can even teach AI someday.
AI with good gut instincts. That would be something.
It would. So, anything else that stood out to you about this research?
What really struck me was the connection between different fields.
Like how psychology can help us build better AI
Exactly. We can learn so much about AI's potential pitfalls.
by studying ourselves.
Right. And by understanding how AI works.
We might understand our own minds better,
It's a two-way street, which is kind of what we're all about here on the Deep Dive.
finding those connections,
And sharing them with you.
and hopefully getting you all to keep exploring, keep learning.
Knowledge is power, right? Especially these days.
Mm.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive into overthinking.
The surprising downsides.
The surprising downsides.
Yeah.
I will leave you with a final thought. So where else in our lives does this overthinking thing come up? We've talked about grammar, facial recognition, but I feel like this goes way deeper.
It does. It really does. I mean, think about all those times you've agonized over a decision.
Oh, yeah.
And then later, you realize your gut was right all along.
Ugh, all the time.
Right. Or how worrying about a problem can make it seem even worse.
The what-if spiral.
Exactly. And while planning is good, thinking things through, we got to remember
what?
the power of intuition. Remember that study? People explaining grammar rules and they got worse at it.
Yeah, go crazy, right?
It's like sometimes the less we think, the better we do.
So are you saying we should, trust our gut more?
Find the balance. Deliberate thinking, yes, but also knowing when to just go with it.
Give ourselves permission to not overthink.
Exactly. Sometimes the best answers, they come when we can quiet our minds.
Let the intuition flow.
Like with that implicit statistical learning.
Right, picking up on patterns without even realizing it.
Maybe we need to trust that process more.
So we're talking about being more aware of how our own minds work.
The relationship between thinking and feeling.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. And who knows? Maybe these insights can even help us build better AI.
Even better.
AI that's not just smart,
But
wise, compassionate. AI that knows when to think step by step and when to go with something else.
AI that can teach us to chill out. I like it.
It's a good goal, right? As we keep pushing the limits of AI, we gotta remember
Remember what?
the human side of it all.
Well said. All right, it's time to wrap up our deep dive into this Mind Your Step paper.
Fascinating research.
If you want to learn more, we've got a link in the show notes.
Definitely check it out.
It's a good reminder that we're all still learning,
About ourselves and about AI.
and that's what makes it so exciting. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds curious, and we'll see you on our next adventure into the world of knowledge.